Okay, here we go. With the first pick in the 2020 draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Joe Burrow, quarterback, LSU.
And there you see Joe with mom and dad, and you have to wonder what's going through his mind right now. Remember, when he entered the transfer portal, he said one more time he wanted to go to Nebraska, and Scott Frost, the coach, said, is he better than what we got? The answer is yes. Mel Kiper, what do you like most about Joe Burrow's game?
I'll tell you what, the improvement was so dramatic, and you were a little cautious early on, Trey, because this is a sixth-round pick going into the year, and all of a sudden, you see this guy putting up big numbers. He looks like he's got it. He's going to incorporate every receiver into the mix. They got everything going. And you start moving him up to the third round, second round. I drew comparisons to Tony Romo. Then it became Tom Brady. Then you get late in the season after he won the Heisman Trophy, you say, boy, now the pressure's on. This is championship or bust for LSU, and he didn't blink. He got behind, don't struggle in the Clemson game early, and then all of a sudden, lights out. Again, Joe Burrow's poise, his confidence, the way he manipulates the pocket, he just has that it factor. He has tremendous awareness. He slips, he dips, stays away from trouble, and then makes those accurate strikes down the field. Joe Burrow put together the best season I can ever remember a college quarterback having. As I said, you talk about the elite competition he faced, 7 opponents that were combined 77-18. That's 77-11 if you take those losses to LSU out of it. So this is a guy that every step of the way played above and beyond what anybody could have expected based on what we saw 2 years ago. I think his improvement was not only dramatic, it was historic, and I don't think we'll ever see it again, Trey. I've never seen a guy
most people talk about this, Mel, as far as him being a one-year wonder. But if you go back to 2018, you started to see this coming on. He was more and more comfortable. And then in 2019, when Joe Brady comes down there and he opens up the door and he says, you know what, Joe, I'm going to put 5 out wide and I'm going to allow you to see the field. And Joe Burrow grew up right before our own very eyes. And I think the Cincinnati Bengals are getting a player that if they will take some of the same concepts that Joe Brady brought down to LSU, if they will have some of those same concepts in Cincinnati, you will see the same thing from Joe Burrow, a quarterback.
With the 4th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Andrew Thomas, tackle, Georgia.
Not a surprise that it's an offensive lineman, but perhaps somewhat of a surprise that it's this offensive lineman, Andrew Thomas. As a junior last season, he won the SEC's Jacob Blocking Trophy and was a consensus All-American. Now, what's really interesting about him is that not only did he play high school football, but as you can see, he was what we call a percussionist at Pace Academy, which is a fancy way of saying he played the drums. Now, his high school coach was Chris Slade, a defensive end who played a lot of years in the NFL, and he said, look, I'm glad that you play the drums, but if you take this football thing a little more seriously, you might play in the NFL. And DJ, that turned out to be very sage advice from Chris Slade.
Yeah, Trey, starting 41 games in the SEC. He's played left tackle. He's played right tackle. You know, everybody had these tackles in a different order. For me, he was my 4th offensive tackle, but I do feel like he has a very high floor. You know exactly what you're getting with him. He's going to be able to uproot people in the run game, and he's going to have a firm anchor in pass protection to hold up there. I did not see elite recoverability, elite quickness, or elite athleticism. I think that they've got themselves a solid, steady player, but I thought there were better options on the board at the position at this point in time if they were going to go tackle.
Lewis, what do you think?
Yeah, look, I kind of agree with DJ. Look, of all the offensive tackles, I really thought Jedrick Wills was one of the guys who I thought would go off the board first. But I can tell you this about Andrew Thomas. When you talk to people around the league, they feel as though he has absolutely pristine football and personal character. It's just
with the 5th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback, Alabama.
Well, there it is, which means for the first time since Kellen Moore, who is now the Cowboys' offensive coordinator, threw a pass, we're going to have a left-hander who's going to throw a pass in the NFL, provided, of course, that Tua is healthy and ready to go when the season starts. But it's not just about the fractured hip and the dislocated hip. As you can see, Tua has dealt with a lot of injuries over his time at Alabama. A sprained knee, a left quad, a left ankle, a broken index finger. He's had spiral surgeries on both of his ankles. And then, of course, in November of 2019 on this play against Mississippi State, the dislocation and the fracture of the hip that sent Tua's draft status into doubt. But I guess the medicals came back as clean as everybody was saying they were going to be. Kurt Warner, you see him going through that, 9-minute and 20-second workout that he sent out to all the teams. Kurt, I guess the Dolphins liked what they saw.
Well, no question about it. It's interesting, Trey, that when he suffered this injury, a lot of people going into the draft thought, well, he's going to have a redshirt year anyways. Even if we draft him, we're going to sit him for a year. I think when people saw that workout, they said to themselves, well, maybe not. He looks really good. He looks explosive. Those are things that he was built on in college. The quickness of his feet, the ability to redirect his feet, to buy time in the pocket. I think we all loved what we saw in that video. But, Mel, it's still a big question. What will Miami do with him? Will they try to rush him onto the field, or will they give him a year to get healthy?
Yeah, Kurt, I really believe he needs the medically red shirt, let that body heal. But he's got to be more aware in the pocket and obviously stay away from trouble. He's got tremendous feel for throwing the football. Throws through progression, so anticipatory a thrower. And the thing about him is he's not accurate. He's precise. He's a dart thrower. So I said what all said. Left-handed Drew Brees. They had passed on Drew Brees because of an injury. Now Nick Saban's quarterback, Tua, injured. They don't pass on him. They take him. Now they got to think they got to sit him for a year, build that offensive line up, and get ready for 2021.
And Mel, it's interesting when you look at this division now. Tom Brady no longer there. It is wide open. The Bills got their quarterback with Josh Allen. The Jets have their quarterback in Sam Darnold. And now the Miami Dolphins have their young quarterback to build the rest of their roster around. There was a lot of talk about them potentially.
Come on, Panther fans. With the 7th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Derek Brown, defensive tackle, Auburn.
Well, there you see Derek Brown. His teammates called him Baby Barack. One of his teammates, Marlon Davidson, referred to him as Channel 5 reporting live because he knew something about everything. He is exactly who you want your player to be, both on and off the field. He has political aspirations. He actually wants to be a lobbyist. That's why he called Baby Barack. His father, James, served in the Army and the National Guard and is now working with the local police department. And he said, I'm a man who starts what he finishes, and that's why he came back for his senior year. Now we recognize Auburn defensive tackle Derek Brown's connection to our armed forces in the Salute to Service moment presented by USAA. For Derek, mediocrity was just not acceptable. His father, James, instilled a strong work ethic in his life. James served in the U.S. Army from 92 to 96. He was stationed overseas in Italy with a 3rd 325th Parachute Infantry Regime. James also served in the U.S. Army National Guard from 96 to 2000s. And Derek's lifelong friend, Ashton Barnes, was a running back at Air Force. He says Derek always wanted to be involved and help make other people's lives better. Mel, he certainly had an impact on everybody he played with and went to school with at Auburn. He was the president of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. What are we getting on the field from Baby Barack?
Well, he went back for his senior year to get better technically, and I think you look at Isaiah Simmons, outside linebacker, Clemson was probably tempting, but Derek Brown, consistent production gave him the edge over Javon Kinlaw. South Carolina is the first defensive tackle off the board. How did he do against the big games, against the top-level opponents? Texas A&M, I was impressed. Florida, Alabama, he had 7 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss against the quality opponents. LSU, he's 7 tackles, 2 for loss. That's the difference in Derek Brown over Javon Kinlaw, in my opinion, DJ, was the consistency week in and week out.
And Mel, to me, when I watched him, the thing that jumped out to me, I thought he played with tremendous effort in every game that I watched. I saw him pursuing plays all the way across the field. He can really reset the line of scrimmage with his power. And I was fascinated to see what Matt Rhule would do with this decision. His first pick, would he go Isaiah Simmons to get some speed and athleticism at the 2nd level? He decided to go with a defensive lineman who can generate some of that interior pocket push inside the division where you're going to have going up against Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and Matt Ryan. So fascinating choice there. I love Derek Brown, Boog.
Keep it up.
Yeah.
With the 9th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select C.J. Henderson, defensive back, Florida.
Well, there you see C.J. Henderson getting the phone call and realizing he is not going to go far away from where he played his college ball at the University of Florida. His hometown's in Miami. He played running back in high school. In fact, his high school coach said, I could have put him at guard, and he would have been just fine. He received scholarship offers from a bunch of places, and last year was first-team All-SEC. Mel, tell us a little bit about C.J. Henderson, who really broke out this year.
He had that ankle injury early on. It kind of pampered him a little bit, Trey, but he is a talented cover corner. That's where he's going to make the money in the NFL. He's going to be asked to shut down receivers. Tackling has to improve. He's got to be a little more aggressive. Tackle, you can't play with 10 men in the NFL. You got to tackle on those receivers after the catch and support the run. But in coverage, 6 interceptions in his career, 22 pass breakups. Even this past season, Lewis, when he had the injury with the ankle, he still finished tops on a team with 11 pass breakups. Lewis, his forte is coverage ability. That's what you're looking for in the NFL.
No question about it. And look, the Jacksonville Jaguars no longer have Jalen Ramsey. They no longer have A.J. Bouye. And I can tell you this, C.J. Henderson is one of those types of guys. He's the kind of guy who can match up with your best wide receiver, and he will shadow him all over the field. And he did that this year. He followed Jamar Chase on just about every snap that he could when they played LSU. And he is a guy who's proficient playing both in press and in off. He has the feet to line up in press and shadow you at the line of scrimmage and then run with you downfield. He has the feet and the hips and the eyes to play from off and play all the different coverage packages that you want to play when you back off. He just needs to be more consistent at the catch point, but he is a guy who is supremely talented and fits the mold of.
Thank you, Fletcher. We are so happy to see that you're home and doing well. We're very proud to support you and St. Jude in the fight to end childhood cancer, and we're all in your corner, Fletcher. Go get them. So I have the Browns pick. With the 10th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Jedrick Wills, tackle, Alabama. I hope you like it, Fletcher.
Well, not a surprise that they go offensive line. Jedrick Wills is off the board. Tua Tagovailoa called him the alpha male in the offensive line group for Alabama. And remember, Jonah Williams was the 11th pick last year for the Cincinnati Bengals at left tackle. A lot of people studying his tape kept looking at the right tackle saying, who is this guy at the right tackle? It's Jedrick Wills. And Daniel Jeremiah from the NFL Network. Remember, they got Jack Conklin in free agency, so now Baker Mayfield has potential bookend tackles to protect Baker Mayfield. What do we think about Jedrick Wills?
Well, I think he's going to be the one making the move over to the left side with the Cleveland Browns. You'll keep Jack Conklin at right tackle because Jedrick Wills has the athleticism to be able to match up with the speed elite rushers he's going to see on that left side without any help from a tight end. He's outstanding knee bender. He can really roll his hips on contact in the run game. He's outstanding when he works up to the second level, but the Browns did not draft him for that. They drafted him for what he could do as a pass protector to help keep Baker Mayfield upright so they can get a fair evaluation on him going into the future. Mel, I don't know where you are, but for me, I thought day one as an NFL starter, Jedrick Wills was better equipped than any other tackle in this draft.
Yeah, I thought they were going to go that route early on. I think about where the Giants went with Andrew Thomas. Jedrick Wills, a right tackle, but he will be a left tackle, and he'll get the job done. He was outstanding in pass protection, only allowed 1 sack and 3.5 hurries all year at that right tackle spot. He keyed that running game as well for Alabama. You think about Arizona, it takes Isaiah Simmons. Kyler Murray was hit a lot, so that was a little bit of a surprise that Simmons is there. They pass on the offensive tackle, allowing Wills to get down this far to the Cleveland.
There are many first-evers that are part of this draft, including the first-ever official draft selection by the Las Vegas Raiders. And I've got it right here. So with the 12th pick of the 2020 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Henry Ruggs, wide receiver, Alabama. Congratulations, Raiders. Congratulations, Henry.
Well, there you see Henry Ruggs. Daniel, you nailed the position, but not the player. Henry Ruggs is a fascinating football player. just so you know, he had 98 catches at Alabama. 24 of them went for touchdowns. In other words, 25% of the time when he caught the ball, he took it to the house. And when he celebrated those touchdowns, you always saw him throw up 3 fingers. That was for his friend, Roderick Scott. They played high school basketball together. And one weekend they were supposed to drive in the same car to a high school tournament. Ruggs was feeling under the weather, had the flu, didn't go. Scott was in a one-man car crash on the highway that trip and was killed in that crash. And Henry Ruggs celebrates his honor throwing up that 3 every time you see him score a touchdown. John Gruden, very happy that he's got the burner that ran the 4.27, as is Mike Mayat. Hi, Mike. Make sure the dog is taken care of. But if you want to talk about an athlete, my God, watch what Henry Ruggs does playing basketball. It was absolutely a rim obliteration. He was jumping from everywhere to throw it down at Robert Lee High School. So you know he can play hoops. You know he can fly. His mom once unofficially was clocked at a 4.23 40. He can absolutely scoot, Michael Irvin, and he can take it to the house no matter where he gets the ball.
Yeah, and we knew, Trey, that this was a possibility because of that 4.27 speed. And let's remember now, the Raiders, what do they have to do? They have to face that thing they have in Kansas City with Tyreek Hill. So they wanted to match speed for speed. They wanted to match explosion for explosion. When they score, when Kansas City score, now the Raiders will be able to come right back and score fast. This kid can run fast, but he also goes up high and grab that ball, just like you saw him dunking the basketball.
You know, one thing about Ruggs, Michael, you talk about that speed. He didn't have the drops, and I think the production wasn't up to the level of Jerry Jeudy. But you talk about 4 first-round receivers that Tua was throwing to. Ruggs, and obviously this year Jerry Jeudy, and then next year Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith. So a lot of talent, only one football.
With the 14th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle, South Carolina.
Well, perhaps another surprise, but Javon Kinlaw is one hell of a football player. His story is also amazing, but what you need to know about him is how he grew up. He split time between his mother and father in Goose Creek, South Carolina, as well as in Washington, D.C., and he spent some of that youth homeless in the nation's capital, where he would ride the metro because either it was colder than it was inside or hotter than it was outside. And he has been a remarkable story, talking about the things that he went through as a kid. He related to that sometimes in Washington, D.C., walking over dead bodies to get to where he lived. Todd McShay said he showed up at the Senior Bowl, didn't even work out, and didn't even play, rather, just went through some drills and made a bunch of money. And there you see the reaction of his father. Javon Kinlaw is now a member of the San Francisco 49ers. His story is absolutely remarkable. Booger, his story is incredible, as is what we saw on the field at South Carolina.
Without a doubt. You talk about the rich getting richer. He reminds me a lot of Richard Seymour. Long, big, and powerful. And the San Francisco 49ers are going to love it. Can he play with leverage? When you're a tall player, you got to be able to play with leverage, extend your arms, control the offensive lineman. He can do it with the best of them. Like one of the guys that I played with a long time ago, Richard Seymour, doing the same thing. Defensive linemen being able to use both hands and control the offensive lineman, they do it well. But this is now a passing league. Can you be a 3-down player? Can you rush the passer? Javon Kinlaw showed outstanding pass rush ability and power, especially at the Senior Bowl. Just like Richard Seymour, long arms, long levers. He can do it inside. And dare I say, John Lynch, they traded away DeForest Buckner. Now they get to Javon Kinlaw, Mel, and this defensive line is going to be dominant once again.
Boog, talent-wise, 6'5", 324. Remember, he was 340 early on, managed his weight, got it down to 324. 5-6 games, he was dominant. Actually, 5 sacks in the first 6 games, only 1 the rest of the way. And that's where Derek Brown, week in and week out, was dominant. Kinlaw had that great start. Then teams adjusted, and he wasn't quite as much of a factor, but he's got incredibly long arms, huge hands, DJ. Physically, if you could draw up a defensive tackle, Javon Kinlaw would be that guy.
Yeah, he reminded me of Marcus Stroud when I watched him, Mel. And this is somebody, when you put on the Georgia game and the Alabama game, the best opponents they played, he was dominant against those quality offensive lines. So that's what jumped out to me. And Louis, I just add one thing here with this selection. This is outstanding by John Lynch. You trade DeForest Buckner, you get the 13th pick. You trade back to 14, get an extra pick, and you replace DeForest Buckner at the same position with a younger, cheaper player. John Lynch putting that Stanford education to good use.
With the 15th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver, Alabama. Congratulations, Jerry. Come on, Broncos.
And there you see Jerry Jeudy and family waiting to hear the official news, but it is done. Jerry Jeudy is a Denver Bronco. And again, according to our Todd McShay, maybe one of the best route runners he's ever seen. By the way, real quickly, you see that straight A's his senior year of high school? He had already done. He was already going on to early admission at Alabama. He was at an all-star high school game, and he got his report card, and one of them was a B+. He said, no, that's wrong. I got the A. The teacher went back and recalculated. Turns out it indeed was correct. Jerry Jeudy was a straight A student, but he has dealt with some tragedy in his life. In November of 2016, Jerry Jeudy's 7-year-old sister, Aaliyah, passed away. Aaliyah was a miracle baby and had suffered health complications since birth. Following her death, Jeudy posted a photo of Aaliyah with an uplifting message. I love you, sis. You're in a better place now. I swear I'm going to make it for you and Mommy. R.I.P. Aaliyah. Jerry's daughter, Journey Aaliyah Jeudy, was born on March 27th. And there you see it. Jerry Jeudy going to go work with John Elway, the quarterback there, Drew Lock, Cortland Sutton, the other wide receiver on the side of that ball. Michael Irvin, take us through what you like about Jerry Jeudy's tape.
I love this pick, and I'm telling you, when you hear people talk about how great he is at running routes, that's because he transitions so well in and out of cuts. This guy is incredible at the line of scrimmage. That's the number one thing that he's going to have to work on, is getting off that ball and being able to get deep. He ran a 4.4 at the combine. And Trey, he gets his work done in the slot. I already told you, 60% of the time he was lined up in the slot, and he made 7 touchdowns out of 10. Now, when you line up Cortland Sutton on the outside and you put Jerry Jeudy in the slot, that is a disaster for any defense when you're trying to stop Drew Lock and the Denver Broncos. Great pick for the Denver Broncos right there, Trey.
Yeah, Irv, I think it's fascinating when you look inside this division. Everybody's chasing the Kansas City Chiefs. So are they going to load up on defense to try and slow down that Chiefs offense? It's like, forget that. We're not going to be able to slow them down. We better get some firepower. So the Chargers go out and get their quarterback of the future in Justin Herbert. We saw the Raiders go get Henry Ruggs. And then now you have the Denver Broncos go get his teammate in Jerry Jeudy. The AFC West is loading up on offense.
Yeah, they certainly are. By the way,
in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select K'Lavon Chaisson, linebacker, LSU.
Well, there you see K'Lavon Chaisson and company getting set to know that they are moving down to Jacksonville. K'Lavon Chaisson is a tour de force. He played his best at the end of the season. Over the last 4 games, including the SEC Championship and the playoffs, 5 sacks. He returned onto the field for the season opener and did all kinds of things. But the thing about K'Lavon Chaisson you need to know is he's prepared to do anything. He said, when you hire somebody, do you want to hire someone who speaks 1 language or do you want to hire somebody who speaks 3? I speak 3. I do pass rush. I can drop into coverage and cover anybody you want me to cover, and I can play the run. No offensive lineman has ever just moved me off the ball. Booger, I think we need to understand what an exceptional athlete this kid was. He didn't play football his sophomore year because he wanted to focus on basketball. He got 6 offers before he ever played a snap of varsity football in high school.
Without a doubt, Trey. You talk about a guy that provides scheme versatility, 3-4, 4-3. He's at his best, though, when he puts his hand down. He has elite get-off coming off the edge, running twists, running stunts. In a 3-4, he could be an outside linebacker. In a 4-3, he can be a defensive end. An outside linebacker in a 3-4, they have to drop in coverage. Dave Aranda, who's now the head coach at Baylor, dropped him off in coverage also. K'Lavon Chaisson was the second best pass rusher in this class, Lewis, and I think they got a steal right here at this point, getting such a dynamic player that has scheme versatility.
Yeah, what he is somebody who they can pair with Josh Allen now and really give you some heat off the edge. You got to assume that Yannick Ngakoue maybe not going to be on the roster here at some point, so they're planning for the future. And Chaisson, you're right. He's not a one-trick pony. He's not just somebody who's just a pass rusher. He will compete in the run game. And DJ, I think.
Let's go. Come on, let's go, Viking fans. With the 22nd pick in the 2020 draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Justin Jefferson, wide receiver, LSU.
Well, here's where you're about to find out that sometimes drafting is kind of like high school recruiting. It's not an exact science. Justin, we apologize. ESPN gave you no stars coming out of high school, and you were listed as the number 308 receiver in the nation in the class of 2017. You didn't even crack the top 50 in the state of Louisiana. Safe to say, you made up for it. Your season was incredible. A school record 111 catches. And if it hadn't been for teammate Jamar Chase's 20 touchdown grabs, you would have had the most last season in college football at 18. Of course, he's not the first Jefferson to play football at LSU. Jordan, his oldest brother, was a quarterback there. And Ricky, another older brother, was an LSU defensive back 2013 to 2016. Michael Justin Jefferson was a late bloomer and came into this process a little later than some, and he has certainly made the most of it with an unbelievable career at LSU.
Yes, and listen, and I love this pick as a football player. Now, I'm really anxious to see how Minnesota will work this out. Because, you know, Adam Thielen works the slot a lot in Minnesota. Justin Jefferson was 99% out of the slot at LSU. So seeing how they mesh this together is going to be very interesting. But this kid can flat out play football. He made great plays deep, made plays over top of people. And when he does get the ball in his hands, he can take short passes and make long plays out of them. Justin Jefferson going to Minnesota. I tell you, DJ, Mel, that's going to be a great pick.
Yeah, look, when you look at this player on tape, he reminds me so much of Keenan Allen and what he did in the slot, Mike. His ability to separate, he catches everything. He's always where he's supposed to be. He's a pro. And when I talked to the folks down at LSU, they said, look, his brother who played at LSU was roommates with Patrick Peterson. This kid was running routes against Patrick Peterson when he was a teenager. He's not going to be intimidated when he steps into an NFL locker room. And Mel, I had a buddy in the league that said this was Gary Kubiak's favorite receiver in the draft. He's going to catch 1,000,000 balls in Minnesota.
DJ, I'm surprised he was there. I thought he'd go more middle of the first round.
Thank you, Calais, for your excellence on and off the field. The Walter Payton Man of the Year Award is our highest honor. And you, Calais, are truly a role model to all of us. And congratulations on being a Raven. With the 28th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Patrick Queen, linebacker, LSU.
Well, I guess it's not a surprise that we're seeing a draft dominated by Alabama and LSU players, is it? Patrick Queen made game-changing plays when they mattered most. It was his interception right before the half that led to LSU's halftime lead over Alabama, 33-13, had a sack in each of the regular season finale against A&M and the SEC championship game, and he was all over Clemson in the national title game, 2.5 sacks for loss and a half a sack to go along with 8 tackles. Boog, he was the defensive MVP, and he was a guy on a mission this year for LSU.
Well, without a doubt, Trainer, and I think his best football is still in front of him. Young player, but he plays sideline to sideline. He may not be the biggest guy at only 6 foot and 229 pounds, but his ability to drop back in coverage, see ball, hit ball, diagnose play, and go and put a thumping on a running back was evident in the game against Clemson. I just love his coverage ability. There are several times in the game against Clemson where it was a screen play, whether it was in zone coverage, where he made a tackle that if he didn't make it, it was a touchdown. The Baltimore Ravens, with their big beef up front, with Calais Campbell, Brandon Williams, and now adding Derek Wolfe, they're going to have an undersized linebacker that's going to be clean. He's going to be able to go sideline to sideline and stay clean and make plays in that defense for Baltimore.
And Boog, I'll tell you what, when I watched this kid, having spent 4 years in that Ravens organization, I wrote down, this guy plays like a Raven. He was my 15th overall player, so you're getting tremendous value. His ability to make plays sideline to sideline and just the energy that he plays with fits the Baltimore Ravens organization. And Boog, your alma mater is celebrating. I don't know if Ozzie Newsome went to the bathroom or not, but Eric DeCosta took an LSU player the first time the Ravens have ever drafted.
With the 29th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Isaiah Wilson, tackle, Georgia.
They're going beef. So that's the second offensive lineman from Georgia off the board. You saw Andrew Thomas go much earlier. Now they go guard with Isaiah Wilson. So many of those offensive linemen out of Georgia were some of the best in the country. At one point, their offensive line this season just absolutely looked massive. Mel, what do we like about Isaiah Wilson?
Yeah, 6'6" and a half, 350, huge. We talk about Mekhi Becton, how big he is. And Isaiah Wilson, not quite as light on his feet as Becton is, but as a run blocker, can be dominant driving defenders off the ball when he has the proper leverage. Again, capable of getting to the second level. Results are a little mixed at times. And pass protection, he has decent feet. Better footwork at times is needed, hand placement, pad level, all those things are coming. I thought he needed another year at Georgia. Go back, work on some things technique-wise, and maybe be a top 15 pick next year. He slides into the late first, opposite, obviously, at right tackle, opposite Andrew Thomas. DJ, when you look at Isaiah Wilson, I think another year would have really helped him. He's raw. They had Dennis Kelly there at right tackle. He can maybe challenge or be a guy that can learn from Kelly, obviously taking over for Conklin. So I think he needed another year. He's a little bit of a developmental guy, but he's got some upside.
Yeah, he's going to be the first one off the bus, though, Mel. I can promise you that. I mean, he looks like he's a wrestler. I mean, he is enormous.
With the 30th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Noah Igbinoghene, defensive back, Auburn.
Okay, somewhat of a surprise here because remember, they paid Byron Jones and Xavier Howard all that money to be the top two paid corners in the NFL, and now they take another corner, Noah Igbinoghene, out of Auburn. Now, let me tell you something. If you want to talk about good stock, both of Noah Igbinoghene's parents are Olympians. His father, Festus, ran track at Mississippi State and competed in the triple jump for Nigeria in the '96 Olympics. And then there's his mother, Faith, a sprinter at Alabama, completed in 1992 and 1996 Olympics for Nigeria, and won the 1996 bronze medal in the 4x100 meter relay. His sister Hope is a freshman runner at Auburn, and Noah was named to the Alabama Boys Track Athlete of the Year in 2017. Noah Igbinoghene is an athlete, Mel, but he goes to a loaded backfield in Miami.
Yeah, you can make a strong argument. I did. He's the third best cornerback in this draft. He's a former wide receiver turned corner, so he's still a little raw, but the kid's got a lot of talent. He's a phenomenal kick returner. To get those XFL rules, and when you get the kick return game back in, he can be a huge weapon, but he's got recovery speed, improving cover skills. You think about a guy excelled in press coverage. He did a good job in terms of showing physicality, made some nice plays on the ball underneath. You can do a better job at times, locating the ball on the deeper routes. He was a little inconsistent there. Instincts people were critical of, DJ. I thought he showed decent instincts for a kid who was a former wide receiver with limited experience. And I'll say another thing, DJ. Gus Malzahn said he was one of the most competitive players, if not the most competitive player on that team, and a very hard worker. That coaching staff was a big fan of Igbinoghene.
Yeah, that shows up, Mel, the toughness, the physicality, the wanting to get involved in the run game. He's going to play inside, in my opinion, with the Miami Dolphins. They'll put him at the nickel. You have Xavier Howard on one side. You'll have Byron Jones on the other. He can work in the slot. He does a nice job of finding the football, but you quickly realize why he's a former wide receiver. He's got 18 pass breakups.
Let's go. Come on. With the 32nd pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs select Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back, LSU.
Sometimes you just have a hunch. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a fascinating running back for them this past season. How about this? Despite only 14 grabs his first 2 years for the Tigers, he had a school record 55 catches for 453 yards. And clearly Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a car guy, because he said, if you're a car guy, I'm like a Pirelli P0 tire fresh off the market. That's my thing. My lifespan is pretty long right now. Only 370 carries in his 3-year career. And his name is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, based on his birth father, Clyde Edwards, and his adopted stepfather, Shannon Helaire. Clyde Edwards is his biological father, but in 2000 he was arrested and sentenced to 30 years in prison when Clyde was 11 months old. Clyde's mother met Shannon Helaire and eventually became a stepfather to Clyde, and he kept both of their names to honor both of them for what they've meant. Boog, we talked about it. What a fit for the offense Andy Reid and company like to run.
Well, it's definitely a scheme fit. You think about Clyde Edwards-Helaire last year in the LSU offense. It's going to be a very similar offense with Patrick Mahomes. He can cut inside and outside as far as hiding behind those big offensive linemen. He's only 5'8", but if you look at his change of direction, the ability to get in and out of his cuts, and then the area where I think he's going to be big and pay huge dividends for the Kansas City Chiefs, catching the football out of the backfield, tough runner, but he's a 3-down player, and this is what you have to have in today's NFL. Not just a runner inside or outside, but you better have somebody that can catch the football. Now, he needs to work on his pass protection, which I'm sure Andy Reid and Brett Veach knows, but they got a really, really good football player in Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Lewis?
Yeah, Coach Reid has always had multi-dimensional running backs on his roster. He's always been someone who's been able to find guys who can run between the tackles, outside the tackle box, and really they can feature him in the screen game. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire, when you combine him with Damian Williams, you have a heck of a 1-2 punch, DJ, that's going to make them even more lethal on offense.
No doubt, Lewis. And to me, when I watched him, I compared him to Priest Holmes.